the two-time upgraded his headset, so naturally I had to buy it and see what the big deal is. The Turtle Beach Stealth Pro is the most fully featured headset that I've used, and it's the only headset that is actually viable as a pair of everyday headphones to take outside. This is easily the best headset that Turtle Beach has put out, a lot better than the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max. But this thing does have some massive issues that they need to address before I can recommend it. The Turtle Beach Stealth Pro launched for $330, and that's what I bought it for. It's a wireless headset that can do Bluetooth, wireless with the USB-A connected transmitter, and Bluetooth plus wireless simultaneously, which is surprisingly rare these days. Even the Odyssey Maxwell and Logitech G Pro X2 can't do simultaneous Bluetooth and wired. The Pro X2 has a switch that you can toggle between the two, and the Maxwell toggles between them automatically, which is really an extremely frustrating experience, but yeah. Now, I bought the Xbox version of this thing, which is what I highly recommend if you do get this, because this also works on PS4, PS5, Switch, PC. So you'll have to toggle this on the transmitter over to the Xbox mode. But if you're on PC or anything else like PS5, then just switch it to the PC mode and it'll work with everything else. Now, on this headset, the controls are on the right ear cup. First, we got the power button. It takes a long time to power on. You might not even know that it's powered on for a few seconds. This button here is for superhuman hearing, which is going to change the EQ curve of the device so that you can hear footsteps, weapon fire, and like reloads a lot easier. It's like your mileage will vary on it. I keep this thing off, but it's an interesting feature that Turtle Beach has been using for a while. It's kind of like their version of virtual surround sound. It's tuned specifically for FPS games. And this is a different texture than the other buttons, and that'll be important in the future. This is the Bluetooth button, which you'll use to sync to a device like your phone, but also it's universal Bluetooth control so that you can answer calls and play and pause tracks, skip tracks, go to the previous track, with one press to pause and answer, then two presses to skip, three to go back. It's an extremely basic feature that devices like have been using for many years, but a lot of modern headsets just don't have that. I'm looking at the Odyssey Maxwell. It's a really convoluted way of actually doing that on the Maxwell. The Logitech G Pro X2 just doesn't do it at all. Now, on the outside of the right ear cup is this remappable button, and by default, this is for the active noise cancellation, and it'll toggle it on and off. It's okay. I use this outside, inside. I use this just in different scenarios at work, at home, and I think for the most part, it honestly can muffle wind, like make that pretty much silent. And that's about it. Like voices, you're still gonna hear them. Cars rushing, you're still gonna hear them. There's a mode that you can set it all the way to transparent or all the way ANC, and it sounds like the all the way ANC sounds like a transparent mode on something else. And this really warps the bass and the sub bass a lot when you actually turn this on. So I don't think it's worth it to even consider for the ANC, but it technically does have it. There's also a gain wheel that you can twist. It's infinite scroll. So this is just going to control the volume inside this device itself. There's also a USB-C charging port, and you'll connect this to your computer if you're going to want to update this. And you probably aren't going to need this to actually charge with though, because check this out. On the left ear cup, there is this microphone, and it is detachable. You can just pull it out, and you can take off the outside of the left ear cup just like this. And that reveals a battery pack. And this device actually comes with two batteries. So one that you can put into the transmitter, and then you can have this connected to your computer or your console, and it can be charging the whole time while you're using this. So whenever this gets low, you just swap them out. I really like that feature. But speaking about the mic really quick, like I said, it is detachable, and also the microphone is flipped to mute. So if you flip this down, and then the mic will be active, flip it up, and then it'll mute. And it has a lot of flexion to it so that you can get the perfect angle that you want. Now, when you pull this microphone out, it switches to the integrated mics that you'll be able to see a little bit at the bottom. Now, these mics are actually pretty good, probably the best integrated mics that I've used, and I'll show a mic demonstration a little bit later in this video. So we're actually off to an amazing start when it comes to features. So next, let me go over the comfort and build, because that'll really put into perspective how good or suspect this device actually ends up being when it comes to using this as an everyday pair of headphones and not just a gaming headset. Now, the Stealth Pro does a lot right when it comes to comfort and when it comes to the build. First of all, of course, you can take off the microphone, and the ear pads inside are very comfortable. They're like pillows. They're a little bit thicker than the HyperX Cloud 3, but they don't have the same level of kind of give to them. So I'd say they're just slightly less comfortable than the Cloud 3, but I love these. There's a little bit less padding up top as well. I always compare these devices to the Cloud 2 and Cloud 3 just because I do find this to be the most comfortable headset that's on the market, and the Cloud 2 was one of the most well built also. I don't know the exact weight of this. I'll have to put this in the description, but this is definitely heavier than the Cloud 3. You're going to feel it on your head a little bit. This thing is mostly plastic up top, the entire headband for the most part, and then the ear cups, but there is some metal inside the headband, just this little metal strip here. It would have been nice if it was like a full like metal frame, but that's all good. And then there's this material, this kind of silver looking material on the outside, but I don't know if it's metal. It conducts heat a little bit, like it'll be cool to the touch or warm to the touch depending on the ambient temperature, kind of like how metal is, but it doesn't really feel that hard and it just doesn't seem like a solid metal. I don't know what it is exactly. Might be plastic, might be metal, might be an alloy more likely. Anyway, I don't have any complaints with the build, but I haven't used this for that long yet. So comfort is good. Jury's still out on the build quality, but overall it does feel pretty decent. But my favorite part about the comfort of this device is the swivel, and it's one of the few devices that actually does swivel right. I feel like a lot of companies, they want to do swivel, but then they put it as an afterthought. Now, see, this is what makes swivel good. It's very simple. You make it swivel out. So how you have these connected to each other, these are like if you're just holding it normally, they're touching each other. When you swivel it, they should now have a gap, a space between them. And that makes it so that when you put them around your neck on your shoulders, it doesn't pitch your neck at all, and it just rests here easy. This was a game changer at work. So now this leads into how viable these are as an everyday pair of headphones that you can take on public transportation, to work, or outside anywhere, but also use for competitive gaming or just gaming for fun, listening to music, anything. So on paper, this thing ticks all the boxes: comfort, swivel, a Bluetooth control button, integrated mics that actually sound good, active noise cancellation, and there's even a phone app to customize the sound, which I'll talk about in depth shortly. But here are the problems with this headset, and before I even get into the headphone audio quality, they're why I just can't recommend this device yet. Now, first up, the buttons are terrible. So this is the right ear cup. They're really hard to access because they're under this little adjustment fork thing. I don't even know exactly what you would call this, but they're like kind of hidden down here. And as you can see, they're almost completely flush with the ear cup itself. The ear cup itself doesn't have like the buttons like protruding out of it so that you can feel them easily. You can feel this one a little bit, the superhuman hearing button, because it's got a little bit of like tactile feel to it, but the power button and the Bluetooth button feel exactly the same. They're not clicky. They're just kind of mushy inside. So if you want to press the Bluetooth button like 3 times quickly to go back a track, that's actually a chore to fiddle around, and like you have this thing on and like actually kind of find like where is it exactly, and then press it 3 times. It doesn't have like a tick, 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 like a lot of clicky buttons like the button that's on the outside of this for the active noise cancellation. So the buttons suck and they're really annoying to get to. But way more importantly than that, the phone app is horrendously buggy. There have been no improvements made since the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max. 9 out of 10 times, no exaggeration, this thing did not detect my headset, almost never detected the 700 Gen 2 Max either. Even while I was literally listening to Bluetooth connected to my phone at the same time, it would just be like, could not find your headset. And it's like, what do you mean? It's right here. It's connected to the phone. And no matter how many times that I turn side tone off in the app, it randomly will turn itself on maybe after like a day, or like I reconnect it maybe 2 or 3 times later and the side tone will turn itself back on. So it's a really annoying experience to pick up the headphones and then you just hear like all this background noise. It's supposed to be removing background noise with ANC, but all you hear is just this really annoying white noise of the side tone. And then you're like, I got to get rid of this. I got to turn this off. So then you grab your phone and then you try to turn off the side tone, but you realize that the phone app doesn't actually open. And also if you want to change the EQ or any other settings, maybe it's too thin or tinny or whatever because you were playing FPS games and you just want to use this regularly, you can't change the EQ at all because the phone app won't open. Another thing is the auto shut off time. I feel like it just doesn't respect that at all. In fact, when I was trying to edit this video, I recorded some clips with my phone and I played it back in this headset. And right after I played it back, a couple minutes later, the headset just completely shut off and I had it on the 30-minute shut off time. So I just used it 2 minutes ago. What are you doing? Another issue is there's no way to actually toggle between Bluetooth and wireless. This is something that I think the only device that has done this correctly is the Odyssey Penrose. No other device has done this, not even the Maxwell, no other device. For this thing, it's constantly going to be searching for the transmitter and Bluetooth connection at the same time. You can't like turn one off. So if you don't want it to, let's say that you are at the maximum distance of this transmitter, which is, I couldn't tell you exactly how many feet, but like in the next room, you can go like maybe like 2 rooms over, and that's about as far as it goes. So like if you're in the kitchen or something like that, it will just keep on constantly trying to connect to this. And when it does connect to it, it'll be like connected or whatever annoying voice prompts it says, and it cuts out your audio, and it's super annoying. So if you're just like, oh, okay, I only want Bluetooth right now, I'm listening to my phone, maybe I'm in the backyard or whatever, I want to turn this off, you can't actually make it stop trying to connect to this. At the same time, there's no way to like actually turn off the Bluetooth either. You'd have to like disconnect it from your phone. Like you'd have to go in your phone and turn your phone's Bluetooth off, or like have it forget this device. But I really prefer having a switch so that if you want one off or the other, that you can just toggle, okay, I only want the transmitter. I only want the 2.4 gigahertz wireless, or I only want Bluetooth. And then, okay, now I want simultaneous. But otherwise, if you're like working out or something with Bluetooth, it'll just keep on cutting your audio in and out, trying to connect and disconnect to the transmitter. And it's just not a great experience. But yeah, overall, the software experience was just so bad for me. It made me like not want to actually use this at all because it was just more hassle than it was worth, especially for $330. Which is these things shouldn't be an issue. This thing should just work. And combine that with some of the worst buttons that I've used, I just don't really like this as an everyday pair of headphones. Now, headphone audio quality is where the Turtle Beach Stealth Pro gets back on track. The detail and sound separation is great. It's right up there with the Logitech G Pro X2. This uses 50mm nano clear drivers with neodymium magnets with a frequency range of 10 Hz to 22 kilohertz. Now, the soundstage is pretty narrow, but it's closed back, so that's to be expected. The passive noise rejection, it's pretty weak, but that's where the ANC helps anyway. I do find the treble to be too harsh for me. I know a lot of people enjoy these sharp highs, but even when I dropped them in the EQ, they were still too much for my ears. The bass and sub bass also can't get to the level of the Odyssey Maxwell or Pro X2, so it was a little empty playing Need for Speed with it. Perfectly fine for competitive FPS games, but I wouldn't call this a fun experience for other use cases like listening to music and playing single player games. Fortunately, even though everyone has different sound preferences as far as the EQ curve that they want, this has a 10-band equalizer in the software if you can actually get it to work. Now, it's not as receptive to EQ as the Pro X2 or the Maxwell, and you can't really ever pull out that deep sub bass for that rumble, but these things do not distort easily, which is really good, unless you have the ANC on, which, well, then that's a different story. And one thing about the headphone audio quality is when you move this wheel too far to the right, when you crank up the gain too much, it is going to have a little bit of electronic feedback. So that is something that does take a few points away when it comes to the headphone audio quality. Now, when put up against some of the heavy hitters like the Maxwell and the Pro X2, this thing doesn't sound amazing. But if you compare this to some more mid-range devices or lower-end devices, this thing does extremely well. So for example, like the HyperX Cloud 3, I like the audio of this way better than the Cloud 3 in pretty much every way. The detail is about as good as the Cloud 3, maybe a little bit better, but when it comes to the bass, it just crushes in the bass. It's not super harsh to listen to. These are good for FPS games competitively, and also same goes for the Epos H6 Pro, but I think that both of those devices are kind of limited in their use case because they're kind of good at that, but like not that much else. Whereas I think that the Turtle Beach Stealth Pro can do that, but it's also a lot more versatile for other use cases, but not quite as much as the Logitech G Pro X2 or the Odyssey Maxwell. So it just kind of sits in that range where it's like good but not great, and because of the price, I don't think it's really justified getting this for the headphone audio quality. But this also does beat out the Astro A50. I personally like the EQ curve of the A50 a lot more than this because of that bass, but this does beat it out in clarity. So yeah, the headphone audio quality is very good on this device, but not worth $330 in my opinion. For a gaming headset, the Turtle Beach Stealth Pro has a good microphone. This is the boom mic right now, and you can also do some EQ adjustments with it, and you can even turn on the noise gate. It doesn't really have that noise reduction filter. That's something that I would like. Also, this mic monitoring turns on and off, and I can't keep it off no matter what I do. But anyway, so here we've got the signature sound. This is just the basic sound that you have out the box, and I don't really have many complaints with it. It's not super clear. You can use the clarity preset, turn this equalizer on. This is going to boost up some of the upper mid range and then dip the bass so that you're going to be able to hear yourself as far as like the just human vocals kind of around this range anyway. That's where they want it to be boosted and elevated so that it comes through and pushes through a mix. If you had like any sort of other sounds going on, like if you were a streamer and you were playing games, something like that, you'd have your voice kind of like cut through the rest of the mix. Personally, I think that this sounds pretty natural at its signature sound, but it's a little bit better at full. But obviously that doesn't improve the clarity too much. It just is a more pleasant to listen to experience. So overall, this boom mic is good. It's not as like sibilant and nasally as a lot of microphones like the PC38X, a lot of SteelSeries headsets. It's a lot better than the Odyssey Maxwell. But again, the HyperX Cloud 3, I prefer that mic over that. I'll have a big video where I compare like some of the best gaming headsets and compare all the microphones together. But let's go ahead and actually put this back to its default. And then I will use the integrated mics. So I actually like the integrated mics of the Stealth Pro a lot. They don't really reject background noise too much. There's cars going by, there's an AC, there's that dog barking. But overall, it's a good tone. It's kind of warm. It's not like super muffled, but it's clear enough to listen to, and the reason I'm recording this on my phone is because this is probably how you'll be using it anyway. You're not going to be talking to the computer if you're going to have the mic out. But yeah, this is an integrated mic. Thumbs up for me. This is the mic on the Cloud 3 right now. It's the best gaming headset mic that I've used, and it has a very natural sound in comparison to the other ones, while not also getting too muffled, not too sibilant. It's just pretty clear, and it doesn't sound super compressed. There's still a few more that I need to test. I still need to test the Razer Black Shark V2 Pro, the new one, so we'll see how that is. So I've already talked about what I don't like in terms of the software, but when you actually do get this thing to work, it is probably the best headset software that I've used. You get a similar experience on the phone and the desktop, so I'll kind of probably put the phone one over here so that you can see it as I go through these. You get to control the EQ of your headset with these like little quick changes like the treble, bass, and the vocal boost, but ideally I just go over to the equalizer tab and then you can alter these however you want. And this is for the microphone. Make sure that you're doing the right one because you can accidentally have it on the wrong one. So yeah, you can choose a lot of different EQ presets here. You can make your own. This is just for the custom ones that I have here for game. I only made one just to test it out. Here's a basic vocal boost that is for Bluetooth. Bass and treble boost, signature sound. They have some presets. I'm not really super too big on presets, but I just kind of like make my own anyway. So you can change those, or you can just pick one of these basic ones and then just, do a slight adjustment here. You can even change, of course, the EQ of the microphone like I showed here, superhuman hearing on and off. And so you can turn that on and off in here as well. Equalizer tab. And then the voice prompts are really loud and they still will cut out your audio no matter what you put these to, but it is what it is. And then you can also make it so that this button right here that's on the outside will do something different besides the active noise cancellation. You can have it do other functions over here. And the same with this wheel, you can have it do a secondary function as opposed to just changing the volume. There's a lot of functionality that you can change in this thing. This auto shut off does not seem to work properly for me, like I said. And then you've got some hotkeys as well that you can apply. This software is really good for fine tuning the exact audio that you want from the mic. From Bluetooth, you can do them separately. Like I showed, you can have a different EQ for game and have that on, and different EQ for Bluetooth, have that one on. Have something like completely different if you want, and the customizability is just excellent. The desktop app works a whole lot more than the phone app works, but the problem is as soon as you take this out, good luck getting the phone app to actually work. One thing to keep in mind is that the chat boost, the game chat mix thing, it only works on Xbox. It doesn't work on PC. So if you're getting this for game chat mix, only going to be on Xbox. So now for my verdict. I like Dock. I like Dock's headset when it works. Good sound, good comfort, good microphone, ton of features, but the software, it's horrendous. And there are headsets with better headphone audio quality like the Odyssey Maxwell Logitech G Pro X2. So while this is a very versatile device for $330, I can't really recommend this thing. If you are a Turtle Beach diehard, then I respect the pickup, but otherwise, I'd pass on this.